Controller support will be good in PoE too. Yeah, that's what I mean. I remember they did like a whole video on it. They're trying to go ham with it. Like same with Diablo. Diablo's controller support's really, really good. Hopefully it's similar with PoE too.
Sir, just what are we facing here?
Whoa! We're live.
Relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain. We will only get one chance.
Oh shit.
And remember, when you hear the whispers, call for help.
Oh damn.
Do not attack.
When you hear the whispers, what do you think he was on about?
It's Dorman, right?
Yeah.
Then Dorman, shut your damn mouth. Ugh, why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, the kid's got a mean cleave. Give him a chance.
Quiet.
Has PoE ever done a cinematic?
Sullen!
That's kind of sick that they're doing this. This is the first for the studio.
A mean cleave, eh, Captain? Rookie can't even lift his own sword. Captain Oren? Captain?
He dropped his loot. There's a leggy.
It's here. Rain! Send the signal!
What the fuck?
Rain! On my back will be blade up!
Come on, come on! I'm ready! I'm ready! It's a man!
No, it's not.
Just made him more powerful. He is smoke.
Run!
Oh my god.
Captain! Captain!
Killed Captain.
Why are you here?
Oh shit.
What is this?
Got him.
Stop! Humanity isn't ready.
Sounds like a Protoss.
On your feet, lad.
Sir, the captain,
You'll be fine. Here.
Oh shit.
What is this?
Get the body.
Stop. Mortal. It can still be contained. You don't know what you have unleashed.
Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him!
Any PoE lore experts?
Feed. Grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
Oh shit. That was sick. I just don't know. Title drop. That's the first time they've done a cinematic.
I'm Jonathan Rogers, game director on Path of Exile 2.
The guy.
Now, Path of Exile 2 is going into early access in around 2 weeks on December the 6th. But even though it's early access, this isn't just some small taste. The game is huge. In this live stream, we're going to be introducing everything you can expect. So without further ado, let's roll the gameplay trailer.
Just like that.
Existence is a thing of beauty, precious, but impermanent. Life and death are mortal enemies, and yet bound to one another. The continuation of life must be protected at all costs. Some have said, my methods are brutal. To
That
this,
does look brutal.
I say, there can be no salvation without sacrifice.
Shit, I don't know who I'm playing. What class? Mercenary? Yeah, maybe mercenary. Whoever has the crossbow.
We are faced with the end, and I will do what I must.
What the hell is this? What was that? What? Is that like a Mario Party map? That's the new Atlas? Oh, so the map has a whole new, like...
Those who obsess with death,
system.
let them soon be acquainted with it.
Now, as you just saw, even in early access, Path of Exile 2 is a big game. It's actually been 5 years since we announced PoE 2, and over that time we've revealed a lot, but it's been in bits and pieces. It's pretty hard to keep track of it all, so today we're going to do a full rundown of all the content that will be available at the start of early access. Classes, character progression systems, and for the first time, a full overview of the endgame. This is going to be a big one, so get comfortable.
Endgame is in early
For 20
access.
years, Rayclast has been free from any sources of corruption, but the Count of Ogham, tempted by promises of power, intends to harness it once more. The dead are rising, monsters are mutating, and madness is spreading. Under the dark influence of
Holy
corruption,
shit.
the Count doles out sentences of death to any who would question him.
A pile of heads. That's kind of a cool character starter.
And this is where you find yourself at the start of PoE 2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham, traverse the barren plains of the Vasteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city. There are challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses. No two areas are the same.
Dude, the
It falls
bosses.
to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation.
Ah.
On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations. But first, you'll need to pick a class.
Man,
Now,
art
early
teams are
access
so
will initially have 6 classes available.
good. Art
Let's have a look at
teams
them.
are so fucking goated.
The
It's
Monk is a
insane.
fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat, and his mechanics involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE 2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos.
Yo, the
To
staff
get new
looks
skills,
sick.
you'll first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE 2. You can choose an existing skill to level up, or choose to engrave a new one. Since this is a level 7 skill gem, even if you pick a new skill, it will immediately be level 7, so there's no harm in trying out something new.
Huh.
The monk primarily uses the quarterstaff. There are 3 schools of martial arts: lightning, ice, and wind.
Yo,
But
the
don't think
monk
you have to
seems
stick to just
sick.
one. The best combos are going to involve mixing elements of all 3.
What? I didn't know
Let's try
that.
killing palm. Like many monk skills, this can be used to quickly take advantage of a specific situation. If there's an enemy on low life, you can use killing palm to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will provide a power charge. Then we can use a different skill to consume that power charge for a much more devastating attack. The monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill.
Better?
The monk also has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles.
Dude, yo, the staff's
There are
insane.
21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By
Bruh, it's a
endgame, you'll be
mat-
dashing from pack to pack,
It's an elemental
spewing
staff.
projectiles and obliterating screens of enemies with huge combo attacks. Now, if you like a style of melee that's a little slower but hits much harder, then the warrior is for you. He pounds the ground with big chunky attacks and can shrug off the hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor. Even though the mace slams are slow, you never lose control. Longer attacks can be retargeted
that's
as you
sick.
go, and if you find yourself committed to a long attack, you can dodge roll out of it at any time.
Oh, yeah, it's like a
Among the
dynamic
skill option
move.
for maces, you will find a variety of slams, fire attacks, war cries, and shield skills. Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire. Any slam skill will then cause these fissures to erupt with lava. I can even run through them with a skill like Stampede to do huge amounts of damage.
Bro, I swear that this is like...
The warrior can also use war cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack.
It looks like they took the
Stampede
satisfying
counts as a
part
slam,
of
so I can
Lost
double that
Ark
for
and
even more
applied it to
crazy.
PoE combat.
If you want to go a little faster and be a little more defensive,
It looks
equip
very
a shield.
chunky.
In PoE 2, you can raise your shield at any time
Which is
to block all
awesome.
damage from the front, even spells. While holding up your shield, your stun meter will build as you take damage, so be careful.
Oh,
If
shit.
it reaches 100%, your stance will break.
It's
and
an
you will be vulnerable.
active shield? What?
Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this red flash. If you see one of these coming, make sure to dodge out of the way.
I didn't know the game was like that.
Using a shield also gives you access to shield skills, like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemies and stun them. While charging, you're also blocking the whole time, so you have full damage immunity from the front. The warrior also has access to totems. Some totems have built-in abilities, like Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and
Yeah,
trigger
he's moving with
aftershocks like this from
WASDA.
the
It's not
earthquake.
mouse movement.
But you can also get Ancestral Warrior Totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that it's a skill you can put other skills into. I can take a slam like Sunder and socket it into my Ancestral Warrior Totem.
You could probably do either
Now
or.
when I summon him, he'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance.
Bro, this looks like
There
the
are 20
beautifulness
active
of
skills
Lost
for
Ark
maces, so there's
combat
a lot more to try out.
thrown into
But
the
by
beauty of
endgame, you're gonna be
PoE.
dropping hammers from the sky, leaping fearlessly
a
into
good
combat, and
marriage.
separating the very earth you stand on. Time for some ranged attacks. The ranger is primarily about the bow, but we wanted to make sure that she feels agile as well. In PoE 2, you can shoot while moving. Combined with all the skills the ranger has that allow you to jump around, you will have a lot of mobility in combat.
This is like Lost Ark without their shit
Bow
systems
skills
of
have a variety of
RNG.
lightning, poison,
Are
ice,
pay to
and
win.
physical attacks. Lightning attacks bounce around between targets. You can also
Yes,
stick lightning
RNG.
arrows in the ground which explode when hit by the bouncers, or electrocute enemies to take them out of combat. Ice attacks allow you to slow and freeze enemies to keep them away from you. Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar, but also grow some interesting plants. With 21 bow skills and all the mobility and combo tools the ranger has, you can take advantage of every situation. By endgame, you'll be creating hundreds of arrows, be they falling from the sky,
The
bouncing
ranger
around between
seems
enemies,
pretty
or
badass,
spraying out
too.
of tornadoes.
Holy.
You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different. In PoE 2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot.
Oh,
Flasks gain
that's
charges
good.
as you kill enemies.
I don't mind
and
that.
typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times if they're full.
I don't mind that.
But that's not the only thing you can use
That's
charges
a good
for.
change, IMO.
Charms are a new item type that will automatically defend you from various debuffs or damage types. Having trouble with getting frozen? Equip
This is a
Thawing
casual's
charm.
opinion.
When it's fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze for 3 seconds.
Ask
if you
Sis
get
how he
frozen.
likes that.
To recharge them, just kill more monsters. You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt. The mercenary
okay.
wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different ammo types, offering versatility, power,
This
and
is who I
mobility.
wanted to play.
All
Mercenary.
classes in Path of Exile 2 can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter. For the crossbow, you will find skills that work like shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles, and even grenade launchers. But not only that, there are a wide variety of more interesting elemental ammos too. It's very fast to switch between ammo types.
Oh
as long
shit,
as
that
you already
move's
have them loaded,
satisfying.
which makes the mercenary able to combo abilities together for devastating effect. Use Glacial Bolt to create walls of ice to separate enemies, then switch to fragmentation rounds to explode the ice, dealing massive AoE damage.
That's
If I
sick.
come across an armored enemy, I could use armor-piercing rounds to break their armor, and then high-velocity rounds to take them down. Or perhaps I could fire a gas grenade to poison enemies before detonating the cloud with an explosive shot for massive damage.
That's crazy.
If you want to call in some suppressing fire, you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum range, so you'll want to prepare your position carefully before moving in. There are 22
Bro, this
active
comes out
skills
in
for
2
crossbows.
weeks.
By endgame, you'll be calling destruction down from the sky as you litter the battlefield with grenades and pepper your enemies with your automatic shotgun. If you're looking to take a backseat and let your minions do the work, then the Witch should be your choice. She can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her, while casting powerful chaos spells that debilitate her enemies.
The Witch is sick. I think the
Occult
depiction
skills are some
of
the
the
most varied in
necromancers.
game, with skeletons, noxious
sick.
spells, specialty minions,
I
curses,
like it
and
better than
sacrificial
the
magic.
D4 one.
Before we talk about minions, we'll have to talk about a new resource in Path of Exile 2 called Spirit. This is a spirit gem, which allows you to pick from a range of persistent skills. All classes have a variety of these skills which can add some very interesting effects, like Arctic Armor, which does cold damage to enemies that hit you, or Raging Spirits, which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a fire spell. For the Witch, though, we'll want to be using our Spirit to create permanent minions. These minions will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time. Here, I'm using the skill screen to allocate which minions I would like in my horde. You can see the spirit cost of each one.
This
Skeletal
isn't my
warriors
class.
are cheap, but weak. Useful for tanking
It
damage
looks
and
sick,
distracting
but not my
enemies.
class.
But I want more heavy hitters in my army, so I'm going to unsummon some warriors and instead add skeletal arsonists. Permanent minions come with special active abilities called command skills. You can order these guys to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If you want a bigger army, you'll need a scepter. This new weapon type is imbued with even more spirit, allowing you to summon even more friends. And if you want an even bigger army than that, you can take advantage of corpses to summon true hordes of minions. But what can a witch do while her army is at work? Well, she has a range of chaos spells to spread disease amongst your enemies, or bone skills to impale them. Or, you know, you could
Oh, that
curse them
bone
and make them weaker so
animation
your
was
horde can take them
awesome.
down. There are 25 active occult skills. By the endgame, you'll be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in its path. The sorceress bends the elements to her will,
Sorceress,
using them to
let's
unleash
see.
devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental magic from afar. The elemental skills have everything you might expect and more. Fireballs, icy explosions, lightning storms, you get the idea. Each spell is unique and has many different ways to build and combo with others.
She looks
even
pretty
between
badass.
different elements. For example, Flame Wall conjures a burning line that not only damages enemies, but also empowers all projectiles that pass through it. If you place a wall and fire
God
lightning
damn.
sparks through it, they'll gain extra fire damage. It's a good idea to take advantage of the ability to automatically swap weapons when you use certain skills. Having a special staff with bonuses to fire skills
That
and
looks
another with
sick.
bonuses to lightning skills can really power up a combo like this. The sorceress can also take advantage of powerful trigger gems. For example, you could grab the Cast and Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a Firestorm will automatically be cast to the enemy that was ignited. There are 25 active elemental skills. By
Dude,
endgame,
all the
you'll be
particles
firing
look
off
so
projectiles left and
satisfying.
right as you rain down elemental storms on your foes. Now, those are the characters that will be available at the start of early access, but we will be adding 6 more character classes with just as many skills and options as these. There's a lot more to come.
So now all classes
There's
are
one more
available.
important thing to mention about skills. Even though we talk about them as belong to each class, in reality there are no restrictions. You can use all these skills on any class so long as you have the attributes. For example, a poison ranger might want to try out using occult curses to increase her poison damage, or a monk might want to trigger elemental ice walls to use with his glacial cascade combo. The possibilities for cross-class combos are practically unlimited.
Oh, that's
We're
cool.
looking forward to what kind of things you guys might find. Now, Path of Exile is a game known for build customization, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible yet. So let's talk about support gems.
The layering.
Path of Exile 2 has a system of support gems that can be combined with your active skills to dramatically change the way they work. If you find a support gem, then right-clicking it will open up this screen. Here you will find a variety of recommended support gems for each of your skills that you can pick between. For example, this is a multiple projectiles support gem and can be used to add multiple projectiles to any skill. Normally when you fire a grenade it'll look like this. But if we add multiple projectiles, then you get 3 of them. Once you have the gem, you can also freely move it between any of the skills on your character. If you want to have a multi-shot sniper rifle instead, then simply move the gem over to your high velocity round skill. Generally speaking, if it sounds like a support gem should work with a skill, then it will work. So it's a good idea to experiment.
I like the QOL there. It's so like
Note that you can only have one of
easy
each
to
support
do.
gem on your character, so you'll want to think carefully about which supports can be used best with each skill for maximum damage. Now, if you want to stick to the recommendations, you should have a perfectly good time. But if you want to experiment a bit more, then uncheck that recommended button and you can see the full list of supports that will work with your skill.
Oh my
There are
god.
hundreds of support gems to choose from, and even we don't know the results of all the possible ways these can interact. Each skill can have up to 5 supports socketed into it, and if you're clever, you can come up with some pretty interesting ideas. Now all of this is just scratching the surface. You can make frost vortexes, break people's armor, make minions explode, make skills repeat, make enemies set each other on fire, cull enemies, or pin them to the ground. Supports let you drastically change the behavior of your skills and create your own unique build, or at least follow someone's OP
5
build
modifiers.
path. So, speaking of builds, let's talk about one of the most iconic Path of Exile systems, the passive skill tree. Yes, it's huge. There are over 1,500 nodes on there. Now, a lot of people open the tree and can get a little intimidated at first, but try not to be scared. There are
I'm
lots
scared.
of options, but at its core, it's pretty simple.
I'm already scared.
Each level, you get 1 point to put into the tree. Each class starts at a
Ooh, the
different
level up
location,
is
but
nice.
they all share the same tree.
That's new.
Around your section of the tree, you'll find relevant bonuses for your character. You should be safe in the knowledge that there aren't many wrong choices here. Almost all the starting nodes will be useful for your character in some way. But if you do happen to make a choice you regret, you'll be able to respec any nodes you've taken by spending a little bit of gold.
Gold respecs, okay.
Now, the tree is generally divided up into clusters which have similar themes. In each cluster you will find small nodes that give simple bonuses like increased damage, but the real power comes from notables. Notables normally have much more interesting bonuses, and they tend to care a lot more about how your build works and what skills you're using. For example, in the mercenary area of the tree, this one gives a 25% chance for crossbow skills to not consume a bolt.
Damn,
And
that's
here's one that
big.
gives grenades a chance to blow up a second time.
Oh shit.
This one gives a chance for projectiles to rebound off terrain, as well as giving you some pierce chance to make that more likely. Note that even though this is in the mercenary section, this would work with projectiles from all classes, so there are often reasons to go to different areas of the tree. In order to get between these clusters, you will generally have to allocate nodes in the attribute highways. Attribute nodes allow you to pick which attribute you would like to use, so it's very easy to get points for any attribute that your gear might need. You can change which attribute these nodes give you for half price at the respec vendor. In addition to notables, you will also find even larger passives called keystones. Keystones have both an upside and a downside, and often require changing your entire build to
Maximum
design around
life
them.
becomes 1.
A great
Oh wow.
example is Giant's Blood, which allows you to wield 2-hand weapons in a single hand, but
Whoa.
doubles the attribute requirements of them.
Titan's grip.
You can use a 2-hand mace with a shield, or even dual wield them.
What the hell, dude? Oh, those are big ones.
Or how about Mind Over Matter, which makes all damage go to your mana pool first before your life pool, but you lose 50% of your mana regen. Skills like these can be tough to build around, but if you're up for the challenge, they can be very rewarding.
Can you dual wield shields? Yeah.
As we showed you earlier on the Sorceress, you can swap between weapon sets on the fly as you use certain skills. One of the new features in Path of Exile 2's passive tree is that you can choose to have your passive tree change as you switch between weapon sets to take advantage of specific bonuses on the tree.
Holy.
For the Sorceress, you might want to change between fire and lightning specialization. Or you could switch between one-hand and a two-hand setup in order to be able to block boss attacks while following up with heavy hits from your bigger mace. Or perhaps you could have a full curse setup on your witch to debuff enemies before switching to a chaos degen build for maximum damage. If you want to stick with just one weapon set, you can just use these specialization points as bonus points to invest however you like, but creative players will find plenty of opportunities with this system. You can get weapon specialization points throughout the campaign from optional bosses and quests. For example, if I manage to defeat the Crowbell, I'll get a weapon specialization book.
Because
There are
Crowbell,
lots
he's
of
a crow
other
holding a
permanent
bell.
boosts available from the campaign too. On the map, you can see icons that indicate the many optional encounters you can find.
Oh, whoa.
Some of them have permanent character boosts, and others have powerful items. If you're having trouble
shit.
getting past a boss, it might be a good idea
The
to
new map
explore
is nice.
and see what you can find.
I haven't seen that.
If you defeat Blackjaw the Remnant, you'll gain a permanent increase to fire resistance. One of the most important finds are spirit bonuses. You can find the first one here in the canopy in Act 1. Defeat the boss in this area to acquire a permanent addition of spirit. The permanent buffs you gain from spirit are very powerful, and every class will find a use for them, so make sure you hunt down these upgrades. There's one in each act.
I really like how
Now, we
this
haven't
game
even
is
talked
so
about
boss
the most
heavy.
important element of character progression, items. That's why we're all here, right? Items in Path of Exile can be broken down into 4 rarity groups: normal, magic, rare, and unique. One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items. An Orb of Transmutation will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic item with 1 mod. You can then apply an Orb of Augmentation to add a second mod, then use a Regal Orb to add a third mod, and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some Exalted Orbs to add more mods to your rare to a total of 6 mods.
God damn.
One of the things we think is really important is to make these options available to use as you play. All the items that add mods are much more common than they were in Path of Exile 1, so that you can use them throughout your campaign playthrough. We want you to find things on the ground that can be crafted into upgrades much more frequently. As well as making the drop rates on these items much more common, you can also get them by disenchanting unwanted gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an Orb of Transmutation, and by disenchanting rares, you can build up to Regal Orbs. Another important area of crafting items in PoE 2
Gotta remember
is
how
sockets.
that works.
Some items you find will have sockets that can have Ezomite runes placed in them that add more mods to the item. If I insert this glacial rune into my helmet, it will give extra cold resistance. This is a great way to solve problems that you have with your build, like resistances or damage. If you find socketed items that you don't have a use for, you can take them to the salvage bench in town to work towards an Artificer's Orb. This will allow you to add sockets to your existing items. Body armors and two-hand weapons can have up to 2 sockets, while the rest of your armor and one-hand weapons can only have 1 socket. You can also salvage items with quality to create items like armor scraps or whetstones. These will allow you to increase the quality of your items for an up to 20% boost. If you don't want to disenchant
Yeah, that's
or
gonna need a
salvage
little
your
bit of
items, you can
practice
always
right
sell them
there.
for gold. Gold can be used to buy items from vendors, and we've tried to do a lot to make sure that the items they have for sale are actually useful. Every time you
Little
level
trial
up,
and
they
error.
get more stock, so make sure to check back often. Other vendors offer a gamble. Pay a flat amount of gold and you'll get a random item of a specific type. This could be a great way to improve your gear, if you're lucky. Gold is also used to respec your passive skills. Take advantage of this system to experiment with your tree and rework it as required.
Always need a gamba.
The other thing you might want to use gold for is the currency exchange. This allows you to exchange currency items with other players on an open market, in exchange for a small gold fee. Now, all items in Path of Exile are freely tradable. We never bind anything to your character, except gold. Now, most gear in Path of Exile 2 is randomly generated, but there's another type that isn't. Uniques.
Oh
They are
shit.
especially rare, each with a handcrafted set of unusual mods which can dramatically change a character's build. They're not just better rare items, they can do much stranger things that can fundamentally change your character. Corpse Wade will make any corpses you run through explode into clouds of poison. The Sands of Silk is a body armor that changes your dodge roll into a blink, morphing you into sand as you teleport past your foes. And of course, some uniques are just pure hits of dopamine, like Quill Rain, which just turns your bow attacks into full auto by doubling your attack speed.
What? That's sick.
Each unique is something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use at endgame, even if you find them early on. And as you can see, every single unique item comes with custom art to match.
Dude, they've gone all out with this game.
The system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension. Starting in Act 2, you will come across Ascension Trials, tests that you must complete to unlock your Ascension class.
Oh, they brought Ascension back?
Soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character. Each class has access to 3 Ascendancy classes, but at the start of Early Access, only 2 per class will be available. Ascendancy classes are unique to each character class, so choose wisely. They can drastically affect how you build your character.
Holy!
As a sorceress, you could become a Storm Weaver, a master of the elements. Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell. With Strike Twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage, and going deeper into the tree, you can make all your damage types apply Shock. Make a Shock build from any skill. Alternatively, you could become a Chronomancer and command time itself. She literally has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze. Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns and cast all her spells again. On the Warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer or the Titan.
Dude, there's so much depth to the characters.
To gain tremendous power. Using Answered Call, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to each of your totems. With Jade Heritage, you can encase your body in a protective layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks.
From the skill,
oh my god, allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies.
There's so much you can customize.
You can ignore the cooldowns of your war cries. Let all that anger out. The Titan class is all about hitting big. With Earthbreaker, every slam is a chance to create an aftershock. With Crushing Impacts, every hit becomes a crushing blow, which will allow you to stun your enemies with ease. With Surprising Strength, you can take advantage of stunned enemies to do 40% more damage.
He is Unga Bunga, but it's like
extra. You might choose to be a Deadeye, an expert markswoman who can take down foes with style. With Endless Munitions, every attack gains an extra projectile. With Gathering Winds, she gains a small increase to movement speed with every attack. But be careful, she loses them when getting hit.
Man, Ranger seems really good.
She will never miss, allowing you to stop wasting all those passive points on accuracy.
Ranger is growing on me.
Alternatively, you could become a Pathfinder, the master of flasks and poison. She can choose from one of several throwable concoctions, allowing her to spend her flask charges to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage.
I would choose the other specialization.
Bleed, while a fulminating one can shock your enemies, allowing you to do extra damage.
Yeah, it's more like a utility ranger.
Allows her to spread poisons between her foes, while overwhelming toxicity doubles the number of stacks they can be infected by. Running Assault allows her to move much more quickly while firing, while Relentless Pursuit makes her totally immune to being slowed by enemies. The Witch can ascend into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage.
Oh shit, a Blood
Mage? As an
Mage?
Infernalist, she can summon a loyal Hellhound companion. The Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets hit.
Yeah, it's free to play, bro, just like the first game.
You can turn your mana into Infernal Flame.
Whoa.
As you cast more spells, the flame builds up, and if it overflows, you'll take damage. Using Bringer of Flame, you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up. While your Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies.
Oh, that's like a whole change.
She can also transform into a literal demon. While in demon form, she takes an increasing amount of damage, but her cast speed and damage increase rapidly as well. So if you're planning on transforming into a demon, make sure you stack a lot of life recovery.
Someone's gonna make a demon form forever build.
A master of life and energy. All blood mages must pay the price of making skills cost life as well as mana, But in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly gain back that life.
Oh,
With
that
Crimson
animation's
Power, she can
sexy.
gain large amounts of extra life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life back as well. Once you've got a significant amount of life, you can use Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage. A monk who is in tune with the elements might become an Invoker. With Elemental Expression, the Invoker will create waves of elemental power each time he does a critical strike. With Faith as a choice, you gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield. Choose between I Am the Blizzard or I Am the Thunder to specialize in cold or
Monk
lightning.
looks awesome.
And I Shall Rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar.
God damn.
Each time you apply a status ailment to an enemy, you gain Unbound Fury. When you have enough, transform into an avatar to deal way more damage and inflict even more elemental ailments.
It's so clean looking.
Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead. The Acolyte of Chayula can exchange their mastery of spirit for darkness, a resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal damage. The Shroud of Darkness will protect you from all damage incoming, but if you take Grasp of the Void, you will deal extra chaos damage from all the darkness you have. Their Dark Pact offers greatly increased resistances to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only happen instantly, but apply to their energy shield as well. Another node you can take is Waking Dream, which allows you to see into the domain of the Breach Demons. There you will see the Flames of Chayula that can be taken to gain life, mana, and damage. The Mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you? You might choose to become a Witch Hunter.
Dude, the
Obsessive
subclasses are
Rituals will give you a
crazy.
sorcery ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in exchange for less defense against attacks.
There's so much.
With Zealous Inquisition, your enemies have a 10% chance to explode on death. The chance is doubled against demons and undead. With Judge, Jury, and Executioner, your initial hit against enemies can deal up to 30% of their life and damage, if you're lucky. This is great
What?
for hunting powerful bosses.
That's
And
insane.
with Witchbane, you can break your enemy's concentration, preventing them from casting spells as often as they would usually do.
That looks
You
broken.
also choose to become a Gemling Legionnaire, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems directly in your flesh.
What the
Integrated
hell?
Efficiency will give you extra skill slots. Thermatological Infusion gives you extra maximum resistances as you sock up more and more support gems. Adaptive Capability allows you to use any color of gem without worrying about attributes, while Crystalline Potential adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socketed into your character.
Dude, the Wazda movement looks
So
so
those are the
fucking
Ascendancy
good.
classes for the start of early access. But
It's
one thing
so
we haven't talked
noticeable.
about yet is how you ascend in the first place. Ascension in Path of Exile 2 requires completion of one of the Great Trials, which you'll find as you progress through the campaign. Each one is associated with one of the major cultures of Rayclast. Located in the Vasteri Plains are the Maraketh, a culture of rich tales and brutal traditions, who must do whatever it takes to survive in the desert. The highest position in Maraketh culture is a Sekima, and it is not a title given freely. All aspirants must complete the Trial of the Sekimas, a grueling gauntlet that will test their strength, will, cunning, and patience. To enter, a warrior of the Maraketh must prove their worth by trapping the soul of a djinn in a coin, and you are no different.
This is like the Ascension in PoE 1, right? Like the little green tablet thing.
Once you have earned your coin, it may be placed in the relic altar to begin the trial.
This is the equivalent of that. I never
In the
minded
Trial of the
doing these,
Seconds,
but when you
each room
start a
has
new
its own
character, it was
challenges
I
to
always
overcome.
felt tedious doing
In
it
this
every
room,
season.
Each rare monster you kill will send its blood to the chalice in the center of the room. Once the chalice is filled, you will be able to proceed. While fighting monsters in the trial, you will need to be very careful. Each hit will not only hurt you, but will damage your honor. The monsters are well telegraphed, so that you can avoid their attacks, but if you run out of honor, you will fail the trial and need to find another coin in order to try again. It is a good idea to make sure that you are well prepared before challenging the Trial of the Sekimas.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly changed it up here.
After each room, you will be rewarded. In this case, you have been given a key that can be used to unlock chests later in the trial. Once you have claimed your reward, you will be shown a map of the rest of the floor and may choose how you wish to proceed.
Oh, okay.
Which challenges would you like to face, and which rewards do you want to claim?
This trial seems
Some
a
rooms
little...
are more dangerous, afflicting you with debuffs that will persist for the entire trial. For example, entering this room will afflict you with Spiked Shell that will cause all monsters in the rest of the trial to have 50% increased life. You will want to take care if you choose such a path. There are many different challenges and rewards as you journey through the trial. Deadly traps, waves of monsters, and strange artifacts will test your honor. As you progress, you'll be able to gain boons from the Jinn, which will help you on your journey. For example, the Sekima's cloak will revive you once if you die, giving you a second shot at a run. One of the rewards you may find is Sacred Water, an extremely valuable and treasured resource to the Jinn and the Maraketh. Trading it with the Jinn will allow you to receive many benefits. You can recover honor, gain additional boons, or remove afflictions.
Wait, once you do the trial, aren't you done?
A powerful boss which will truly test
Why
your
would you do this multiple times?
In order to ascend, you will need to defeat him.
You just have to do this once, right? Each season, this whole thing you do once.
Having defeated the boss, you've earned the right to ascend. But first, the loot. The keys you have found may be used to open the various treasures in the vault at the end of the floor. We only have a single bronze key, so we'll just have to open one of these small chests.
Oh yeah, wait.
If
In
you want to open the better
PoE 1,
ones, you'll need silver or gold keys. Let's use the Altar of Ascendancy. Your
You have
first
to get
ascension
all
will allow
6
you
of
to pick
them.
your class and grant you 2 points to use in the tree. Now there are more floors and many more rewards that can be found within the Trial of the Sekimas.
And they were
but we'll save
scattered,
that for
right?
the section on the endgame. For now, let's talk about the second Ascendancy Trial, the Trial of Chaos. In Path of Exile 2, you can choose whichever trial you like to earn your ascension. Each culture on Rayclast had their own methods to ascend. If the Trial of the Sekimas is not your kind of playstyle, or you're finding it too difficult, you could try another. You can gain all your ascension points from just one, or mix and match them. It's up to you. For early access, we will have 2 trials as options, with a 3rd trial coming later for the full release. While exploring the Vaal jungle, you'll discover the Temple of Chaos. Before the Vaal embraced the science of corruption, their civilization worshipped chaos. This ancient trial was once used by the Vaal to test their high priests. A high priest of the Vaal must show willingness to risk everything to gain power. Entry to the trial requires a token from a strange entity known only as the Trial Master. For those in which he sees potential, he shall inscribe an ultimatum. Many have attempted these trials in search of greatness. Most have perished. Will you be able to defy the odds? Before you begin each chamber, the Trial Master will offer you a reward and a choice. Choose one of 3 tribulations to affect you through the rest of the trial. These modifiers might beef up the monsters, curse the player, or add environmental hazards like turrets or trap runes. In this case, we will be picking shocking turrets.
I'll let you choose a little
bit. As you enter the room, the Trial Master will fill it with hazards to test your commitment. In this case, you must destroy all the monsters that fill the room, while dealing with the lightning projectiles from the shocking turrets.
I remember saying an ARPG that has Eastern dev combat with Western systems can potentially be insane. And this game looks like the Gap Bridge. It reminds me of like Lost Ark meets.
After each room, you will need to make a choice.
Diablo systems.
Take the rewards you have earned so far, or go double or nothing. Increase your rewards, but take on more risk.
But PoE does it better with systems.
But they quickly stack on top of each other and can become overwhelming.
People redo the trials for the loot.
There are many types of chambers in the trial. Each will test your resolve in different
they're worth
ways.
doing multiple times?
This one simply requires you survive for a certain amount of time. Another requires you to escort the stone idol through the level as elevators full of monsters descend to attack you. Should you be able to get through the first 3 chambers, you will face your first boss. The order of the bosses is random, and combined with the tribulations you have selected, the fight will never feel the same.
Man, the bosses are going to be the best part.
Claim your rewards. Of course, there are the items, but you also gain the right to ascend. If you already did the Trial of the Sekimas, then you can claim 2 more points to add to your Ascendancy class. Now, it's possible to go much deeper. There are more bosses, rewards, and risks to take, but we'll talk more about that when we get to Endgame. So how about we talk about that now? So far, we've only been showing you footage from the campaign, but some people would argue that the endgame is where the game truly begins. Something that happens almost every time a new action RPG launches is people saying, there isn't enough endgame content. Well, we want to make sure that in PoE 2, people don't feel that way. And we actually only changed our development priority for this recently. The first 3 acts of PoE 2 already take around 25 hours to complete if you're a new player. This is already a pretty significant campaign. On the other hand, people spend hundreds of hours in Endgame each league. We realized that finishing the rest of the campaign for early access was actually a bad idea. Instead of having acts 4 to 6 in early access, we could concentrate on Endgame and make that great. For new players, a 25-hour campaign is already a huge game with lots of content.
That is.
But for existing action RPG players, what you mostly care about is all the endgame challenges to overcome. So several months ago, we switched the entire development team's focus over to making endgame content. At the start of early access, there will be 50 bosses and around 400 monster types. But the great thing is that the rest of the game is like 80% there.
Dude, that's
we'll be
crazy.
adding content to roughly double the size of the game during early access and into release. Now, in order to make the endgame happen at the same character level as what it would be after we added the rest of the acts, we've added a second difficulty level called Cruel, where you repeat the campaign with all the monsters and bosses leveled up. And of course, new rewards. You can kind of think of it as like a new game plus. It's also a lot faster to get through the content the second time as your clear speed increases.
Oh, I see.
That will take you to around level 65, where the endgame begins. Once we add the remaining 3 acts, we'll be removing Cruel difficulty.
So that's
you'll
how they're
progress
doing
straight
it.
from the end of Act 6 to endgame.
So
But
you need
what
to
is
do the
endgame?
campaign twice.
To explain that, I'll hand over to Mark. He can tell you all about it.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, one thing that Path of Exile is known for is having a lot of distinct endgame content to choose between. Each endgame mechanic needs to have its own progression system, areas, bosses, rewards, and player power that can only be gained from that content. We are going to be adding a lot more over time, but for Path of Exile 2 we decided to start with 7 distinct systems you can progress through.
This is the Atlas, and it serves as the core of the endgame for Path of Exile 2. It's infinite and expands in all directions. Now, we are not
Looks
going
like
to
a
spoil the
4X
plot
map.
too much here, but corruption from the beast has blighted the land, and your objective is to help fight it. In the center of the Atlas, you will find the Ziggurat, a temple in which the Val research the fundamentals of space and time. Here, we can open portals to nearby locations and begin cleansing corruption and finding resources. In order to power the portal device, we will need waystones. Each waystone has a tier which will determine the level of the monsters that you will face. To go to an area, simply click one that is adjacent to an area that you have already completed. Insert the waystone and click Traverse. Portals will open, allowing you and your party to travel to the area you have selected. All the areas in the endgame feel distinct from the locations in the campaign, and we have dialed the randomization up to 11. The monster packs you will face in each map are totally random, and the combination of them can lead to some very interesting combat situations. There are over 400 monster types in early access, and they have a lot of varied and interesting abilities. Depending on which combinations you face, you might find some serious challenges. In order to cleanse the corruption from the area, you will need to defeat all the powerful rare and unique enemies in it. Once you have done that, the area will be marked as completed and you will be able to travel past it to progress deeper into the world. If you die, then the map can no longer be run, and you will have to find another way around to get to the areas behind it. There are also all kinds of other random encounters you might run into as you play maps. One such encounter are precursor artifacts. These are ancient, corrupting monuments that irradiate the monsters around them. The monsters that feed off the corruption are drawn to their power. If you defeat the monsters and cleanse the artifact, you will get a powerful temporary buff. Some of the buffs make you faster, others rain lightning or fire around you, and some even give you increased experience or help you find better items. You can also find strong boxes. These enigmatic chests guard piles of treasure, but are always a trap. Monsters lie in wait to attack you the moment you open it, and the boxes often have mechanisms to unleash powerful spells or dangerous debuffs. There are different types of strong boxes containing different items, and you can even use your currency items to craft them on the fly, so you can optimize the contents. But be careful of opening one you can't handle. Sometimes you'll discover monsters frozen in essences, solidified crystalline corruption. These dangerous monsters can be broken free. If you defeat them, the essence they drop can be used to upgrade normal items to magic items with a guaranteed mod from a category. For example, we could use this one on some boots to ensure a movement speed mod.
Oh shit.
Rarely, essences will also drop that allow you to upgrade magics to rares, adding the guaranteed mod.
I'm gonna burn a lot of my resources just to learn the systems of the game instead of hoarding. There's always someone in chat being like, you don't spend those! And then you just like never really fully understand what the item
does. It allows
does.
you to get a second deterministic mod in your crafting
I'm just gonna use them
process.
just to see.
Combining these with the currencies that are commonly found in Rayclast for modifying items.
Your first character, you're like figuring it out.
Indeed. Waystones, like all items, can also be crafted using your currency items. Adding prefix mods will improve the rewards, while suffix mods increase danger. The more dangerous a map is, the more waystones will drop. Adding mods to your waystones is key to progressing to higher tiers and sustaining them, but it will require you to take on larger challenges. There are a variety of factors you'll have to consider when crafting your waystones. Some maps will have higher density, some lower, some have more magic and rare chests, or monsters, some are more linear, and others more open. Make sure you explore and think about what makes certain maps good if you want to maximize your returns. As you cleanse corruption from higher and higher tiers of the Atlas, you will gain points that you can spend in the Atlas tree. This tree allows you to juice the danger and rewards of all areas in the
They have an Atlas tree as well?
Increase the number of monsters, the number of rares, the number of precursor artifacts or strongboxes, even the quantity of item drops.
This game has so many layers of customization.
As you explore the in-game world map, you'll notice various different biomes, from snow-capped mountains to dense jungle valleys. Most maps are restricted to certain biomes. As you continue to explore deeper into the Atlas, there are all sorts of things to discover. These cities are constructed by different peoples of Rayclast, and have specific items that can be found there. These strange structures marked on the map don't appear to do anything for now. Perhaps you'll work out how to use them later. You might find unique maps like Untainted Paradise, an undisturbed island full of beasts that give an extreme amount of experience. You may even find a lonely man just enjoying his retirement who will give you a unique item for free. In addition, you can find special areas that would make a good spot to set up camp. Clear these areas of their hostile inhabitants, and you'll be able to claim them as your own hideout. You can decorate your hideout as you see fit, and invite various NPCs to join you there to create your own personal base of operations.
Hideouts are optional, right?
Exploration are towers. These mysterious precursor constructs are dotted around the Atlas. Completing the tower will reveal a large area around it, allowing you to scout out your next challenge. There are lots of things to find, so keep looking. Some sections of your Atlas are influenced by corruption. This adds extra modifiers to the maps in the region, increasing difficulty and rewards. Here, slaying monsters in close proximity to each other will cause the vestiges of corruption within them to merge together, forming powerful and grotesque abominations. You may have noticed while looking at the Atlas that some of the areas have these icons above them. The icon indicates that the area contains some kind of special encounter. This icon indicates that the area has a powerful boss. Because only 1 in 4 maps contain a map boss, we are able to make them very powerful and very rewarding. These bosses come from the campaign, but have had their difficulty increased with changes to AI and some of their abilities. It's worth noting that because you can see where the bosses are, you can choose to take them on or avoid them. If you do choose to hunt bosses though, then you will be rewarded with special points for the boss hunting section of the Atlas skill tree.
When you look at this and you see how long it took for them to develop Diablo 4, you're like, bro, were they on vacation half the time?
For each different type of content in the endgame, we are adding specialized trees in order to make it so you don't feel the need to respec your points when you change between different types of content. Are these devs just like super fucking efficient? We will be showing you 7 of these by the end of this presentation, so there is still a lot more to come.
Pretty sure that game took like twice as long to develop.
You'll see on the Atlas. Let's take a look at one of the endgame systems, Breach. If you played PoE 1, you might be familiar with Breach. For PoE 2, we have created sequels to several PoE 1 leagues. While the mechanic is familiar, the monsters, bosses, rewards, and progression are all new.
I actually, you know what? I think it is passion.
Fabric of reality. Opening it will allow you to see the demons and otherworldly monstrosities that lie in wait on this other plane of existence.
These are indie devs that have found insane success
between their world and Rayclast.
With a community that
you will need to kill
understands the vision.
The faster you can kill the monsters, the more monsters you will find, and the more loot you will find. You can also find clasped hands that will open and drop more items if you run over them. These can be a good boost to the rewards of the Breach, so keep an eye out. One of the rewards that you may find while fighting monsters from Breach are tablets. Tablets are special items that can be used with precursor towers to add more encounters to the Atlas. Breaches will drop Breach tablets. Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower. This makes all the content in the Atlas self-sustaining. Want to do more breaches? Find the tablets, add them to your towers, get more breaches, getting more tablets. Soon your Atlas will be covered in otherworldly domains. In addition, like all items in PoE, you can craft them. Use your currency to add mods to your tablets, allowing you to upgrade all the breaches in range. Tablets can have up to 2 mods. These mods do things
a lot of this
like
is gonna rely. Oh my god!
Extra class
I gotta find a YouTuber that TLDRs
allowing you to keep them open
the
longer.
most efficient
Often
ways to farm.
Multiple towers near to each other with
I ain't
overlapping
smart
areas
enough.
of
I need a
effect.
fucking
This
guide.
can allow you to really juice the mechanic by stacking the mods from multiple tablets.
I need a breakdown on some of
hold
this.
The breach demons at bay, you may want to use the powers of their world against them. Each endgame mechanic always has player power that can only be gained from that mechanic, and Breach is no different. In Breach, you
play naturally, but then you want to
Items that can increase
optimize.
the quality of rings and amulets by improving specific mods. You can
I
also
trust
find
someone
Breach
who's
rings, a special base type
someone
that
else.
can have its quality improved by catalysts up to 50%. In this case, you could create a ring with around 170 life. Breach rings can become some of the strongest rings in the game, giving you some good motivation to face the demon hordes. In addition, each endgame mechanic needs to have a pinnacle endgame encounter. While killing Breach monsters, you may find Breach splinters. Collect enough of these and you'll be able to create a Breach stone. Using a Vaal technology called the Realm Gate, you can use your Breach stone to access their domain and bring the fight to them. In this twisted domain, you will find nothing but a single massive breach. Triggering it will reveal hordes of Breach inhabitants.
Dude's on the moon. Dude, the more I look at the monk, the more I'm like, oh shit, I gotta play a monk. He's got like an insane glowing
you will be able to
staff.
fight their leader, Zesht. We that are one.
You want that breach stone. Oh yeah, that's the drop. Dude, watch the stream.
This is just one of the pinnacle encounters of PoE 2. We won't be showing the rest of them, so you will have to discover them for yourself. But rest assured, this is some of the hardest content we have ever made. All these encounters have specific uniques that can only be found from them, but that's not all. We still have the progression system. Defeating Zesht will give you points to allocate into the Breach section of the Atlas tree. Allocating these points will make breaches and the Breach domain even harder, but will give you more rewards. The small nodes will increase the difficulty of the Twisted Domain, while the large nodes have more specific bonuses.
Bro, I need I should have brought a notebook.
This node adds more clasped hands to your breaches, and adds a pack of magic monsters that can guard them. Get some more points and you can allocate Waking Nightmare, which will double the number of splinters you
I
get
didn't know we
from
were in
clasped
class.
hands, and inflict you with a mysterious debuff. In order to earn more points, you will need to defeat Zesht at a higher difficulty, and some rewards from Zesht can only be found by increasing the difficulty of the Twisted Domain above certain thresholds. Defeating Zesht at difficulty 4 will be a challenge indeed, but there are many more threats in Rayclast. Ritual altars are sacrificial sites built by the mysterious King in the Mists. If you encounter this symbol on the Atlas, then you know that the area contains ritual altars. Ritual altars demand tribute. Every monster you slaughter in the circle will feed the altar. After the sacrifice, touch it to begin the ritual. The monsters you just killed will be resurrected by the King of the Mist's dark magic, and you must fight to survive. The tribute you have offered to the altar can be spent to buy powerful items, but they can be expensive. To gain more tribute, you will want to find more altars. Each successive ritual you do within an area will spawn the monsters revived by the previous ones, in addition to the ones you sacrifice next to it. By the end of an area, you'll be fighting a truly imposing number of foes, but will have a significant amount of tribute to spend. One of the rewards you can buy with tribute are omens. These are special items that allow for meta crafting. Crafting items that affect other crafting items. Have an item with good prefixes but bad suffixes? This omen will help you to remove the
4
mods
rituals
you don't
on the map.
while keeping the ones you do. There are a bunch more of these with different effects, but we will leave them for you to discover. Now don't forget that Ritual will also drop tablets, which can be used to specialize into getting more rituals. If you want to get to the Pinnacle Boss of Ritual, then you will probably want to use them. They can also be crafted to grant mods, making your rituals more rewarding. The pinnacle encounter of Ritual is the King in the Mists. Feared by the Asmeri people, he is said to have brought eternal darkness to the Wildwood. We won't show the encounter, but just like Breach, there are a range of unique items you can get for defeating him, and you will gain points in the ritual section of the Atlas tree.
Oh, it's so nice how it's so boss heavy.
By insanity. A mysterious entity has taken a special interest in you. Step through the looking
turn that
glass and
dial
you'll
up.
find your nightmares coming to life. When you touch a mirror, the mists of Delirium will spread out across the area, infecting your mind. You must stay within the mist to maintain the nightmare, which is as profitable as it is terrifying. Everything you kill will increase the rewards that drop. However, the deeper into the mist you travel, the stronger the monsters are. Be careful not to overstay your welcome. Rare and unique enemies will become vessels for terrifying demons, who will manifest out of them to unleash powerful attacks on you. The mist also offers a strange crafting material, distilled emotions. By combining these emotions, you are able to instill your amulet with a notable from the passive skill tree. This is like gaining an extra passive point for free, attached to your gear. They are also particularly great because you don't have to traverse the tree to get them, allowing you to get off-class bonuses that would normally be much harder to get.
That's big.
Distilled emotions can also be used to instill your endgame maps, applying Delirious to them and adding additional difficulty and rewards, allowing you to further juice your endgame maps. The tablets you can find from Delirium can be used to further improve it, increase pack size, make the fog dissipate slower, or improve your progress towards the pinnacle encounter of Delirium. Speaking of which, every now and then you will find simulacrum splinters. The mysterious entity will create strange encounters based on warped versions of your own memories. Monsters and simulacrums come in waves that get progressively more difficult. You will receive loot at the end of each wave, and you will have to make the decision to leave now or continue on, facing up against even tougher foes from the mist. The bosses you will face as you get deeper into a simulacrum are truly terrifying. If you can complete a simulacrum, you will gain points for the Delirium section of the Atlas skill tree. Next up, we have Expedition. Occasionally, while clearing corruption, you will encounter these Kalguran settlers. The Kalgurans have discovered ancient burial sites with lost Verisium artifacts, and they want you to help dig them up with explosives. The Kalgurans have marked the locations where the relics can be found. Place explosives as best you can to dig up as many as possible. There is just one problem. Corruption has brought the corpses of their ancestors to life, so you might have to do a little cleanup before you can reclaim the artifacts. You can also find remnants, the destruction of which will further anger the restless dead. Each one you blow up will make the subsequent monsters more powerful, but also more rewarding. Danig, Rog, Tujin, and Gwenin will exchange the artifacts for useful items and runic magic. You can also find tablets to increase the number of expeditions and the rewards. This one increases the radius of explosives, while this one increases the number of remnants you will find. Eventually, you might discover a logbook. These are special maps full of buried treasure and relics. Essentially,
dude, there's
one
a lot,
giant
man.
dig site. Here, you can create an extremely long chain of explosives and go through a very high number of remnants. But be careful. Many remnants have mods that can really brick your build, so you will probably want to
This does
avoid
remind me
these
of the
ones.
Delve.
If you add too many remnants, you could easily make the encounter harder than you can handle. There are all sorts of interesting things buried under the ground in logbooks. You might find dripping caves and hidden
So, like,
pirate
do you have to
niches,
do all of
but
these?
the most powerful encounter is Olroth, the ancient undead commander of the Knights of the Sun. Defeating him will grant you unique
It's kind of like a
rewards,
choice.
as well as points to spend in
Oh,
the
okay.
expedition section of the Atlas tree. So those are the in-game systems on the Atlas, but we are not done yet. The trials we talked about earlier have much more content when you get to Endgame 2.
You specialize
Just like
in
the
2 or
other
3.
in-game systems, they also have progression mechanics,
can do a little
unique
of each.
rewards, and player power that can only be gained from them. As you get higher level coins for the Trial of the Sycamores, you will unlock more floors to explore. Each floor has its own challenging rooms and a floor boss that you will need to kill.
You can do even only one.
There are 4 floors in total.
So if anyone's kind of intimidated, you can just choose one.
Which can only be accessed at Endgame. The Trial of the Sycamores is where you'll find jewels, which you can socket into your tree. These are like passives that you can craft with your currency items. They can be really powerful as they allow you to stack modifiers that may not be easily accessible on the tree normally. This jewel gives lightning damage and shock chance, for example. There are quite a few jewel sockets on the tree, so it's possible to gain a lot of power here.
Oh, the
there
jewel
are also
sockets?
other types of jewels that don't provide any bonuses themselves, but affect other passives surrounding them. This jewel increases the effect of small nodes and radius by 25%. With careful placement in the tree, you could get a significant amount of power from it. There are also unique jewels available with very interesting effects, but you will have to find those for yourself.
AoE.
In order to push further into the trial and uncover the secrets of the Maraketh, you will want to take advantage of its progression system, relics. Relics are items that can be placed in the relic altar as you start the trial. They give special bonuses that affect the trial, making it easier and increasing its rewards. Of course, you can craft these with your currency items, making them even stronger. If you can complete the entire trial overcoming all 4 floors, the final boss will reward you with one of many unique relics. These relics will be consumed when used on your next run, but can reward you with unique
Bro, start over, bro.
items. For example, this is the Last Flame. If you use it, you will have only 1 honor for the entire trial, so you will need to do a completely hitless run.
So it's a modifier item.
The Trial of Chaos also extends into the endgame. As you gain inscribed ultimatums of higher and higher levels, the number of chambers that you can go through increases. In true Val style, this allows you to take even more risks for even more rewards. At endgame, you can progress through up to 10 chambers with 3 bosses on a single run. Stacking 10 tribulations on top of each other will make this a significant challenge, but it's worth it. The Trial Master will tempt you with items of the Val Empire, such as Val Orbs. Val Orbs are powerful crafting items that
I would have
corrupt your
agreed.
gear with random, mysterious outcomes. Corruption prevents an item from being modified further, so it has to be the
I'm gonna make a
last step of your
mistake
craft.
playing the game.
But it's also the most impactful one. For example, if you use one on your body armor, it might add a new powerful enchantment, or it might re-roll up to half of its modifiers. Val Orbs also have the ability to add a socket, allowing you to bypass the normal restriction of how many sockets an item can have. A body armor could get up to 3 sockets this way, allowing for a significant number of mods. Val Orbs can even modify uniques. Adding enchantments or sockets to uniques can make them incredibly powerful, but there is a good chance that you will break them as well.
Wait, I missed it. What does corrupted
also
do?
occasionally offer you soul cores.
It makes them
Originally
wicked
formed by
powerful,
Chaos,
but what's the
Val
downside?
sought to replicate soul cores through human sacrifice rituals and blood magic to power their civilization. Soul cores are powerful
Oh,
socketable
it just
items
bricks them, so
with
you
mods
can't
that
do
cannot
anything
be
new to
obtained
them.
from regular runes. Like all endgame content, there is of course a Pinnacle Boss. The final chamber will drop keys to this mysterious door. Some say this is where the Trial Master himself resides. Perhaps you are willing to take the risk to find out. Had enough yet? Because there is still just one more thing. The most difficult content in Path of Exile 2. While mapping, you might come across this fortress that has emerged from underground, surrounded by an enormous maze riddled with danger. Is the maze preventing something from getting in, or something getting out? This fortress is of ancient origin, and its construction has similarities to the towers and tablets that you have been using on your journey through the endgame. It is clear from the entrance that there are 3 keys required to enter. Local factions are vying for access to the fortress in order to seize the power they believe will be inside. Each of the faction's leaders have managed to get their hands on one of the keys, so you will need to defeat them. Each faction is led by an Uber-Act boss. You can see one of them inhabiting the city, but in order to fight him, you will first need to defeat their 2 lieutenants in the adjacent zones. Be careful. If you fail against either of the lieutenants, or to kill the leader, they will move on, and you will need to find them again. Kill all the Uber bosses and you will gain access to the fortress. We aren't going to spoil it, as we can't wait to see you guys attempt it for the first time. But is there a tree you get points in after killing it? Of course there is. This is Path of Exile.
Wait, so is this another alternate path?
So these are your challenges for PoE 2. As you can see, this project is crazy huge, way bigger than even we expected when we started out. But how do you gain access? Well, during early access you'll need a key to get in. To thank our existing PoE supporters who have spent more than $480, we'll be giving you guys a key for the PC version for free. Anyone else who wants one can get one by purchasing one of the new early access supporter packs that have just been released to the store. If you just want early access to PoE 2, then you can get a key in the $30 early access pack.
$30.
The pack also comes with $30 of points to spend in the MTX store. But we also have a variety of other supporter packs filled with exclusive microtransactions, points to spend in the store, and even physical items. The cosmetics can be used right now in PoE 1 and in Path of Exile 2 when early access starts. Most of this footage has been recorded in Path of Exile 1, since that's where you can use them immediately. The Lord of Ogham supporter pack contains a cosmetic armor set befitting of the Count of Ogham himself. There is also a matching back attachment which has an alternate variant depicting the influence of corruption. Also in this pack you can find a portal formed of the rusted armor of the fallen soldiers in the Red Veil of Ogham, and the offspring of a vicious Crowbell boss found in the hunting grounds.
Whoa!
This one doesn't look so vicious though. On top of that, you'll receive the Iron Count's Zweihander to apply to your one-handed or two-handed swords.
Yo, the Zweihander?
For those who are wanting to decorate your
That's how you
hideouts
say
with
it?
fond memories and tales of Path of Exile's history, you will also get a series of hideout statues. This pack contains the statue of Lirik. For Path of Exile 1's closed beta, each pack contained a true New Zealand icon, the Kiwi. Following
God,
this
the
tradition,
Kiwi.
all packs in this series will also contain a new themed Kiwi pet. The pet will loyally follow you into battle, but run away at the first sign of trouble. Become the ruler of the desert with the King of the Faradin supporter pack. Show your mastery of traversing the sands of the Vasteri Plains. The body armor will allow you to glide along the ground with ancient sand magic.
Whoa.
Now each armor set comes with body armor, boots, gloves, and helmet, but the boots are covered in sand. If you'd prefer to show them off, you can turn the gliding off if you want.
Oh, nice. It's optional.
The accompanying back attachment equips you with two powerful pillars that can control and manipulate lightning. They will periodically release their energy in a powerful blast while in town, and hover in a circle around you, arcing lightning between them, forming a barrier of energy. Replace the appearance of any bow with the Faradin's Glory skin.
No, it was cosmetic.
Or replace the appearance of a spear
said
with
in
the
town.
Tyranny's End spear skin.
You said in town.
The spear skin can be applied to staves and war staves in Path of Exile 1.
It doesn't do damage.
If you want to truly show your worth as a King of the Faradin, then you definitely need your trusty moving entire city fortress known as the Dreadnought to travel across the Vasteri Plains.
What the
In
hell?
Path of Exile, you can decorate your hideout however you like, and it's no exception here. It comes with a variety of thematic elements to use, or use decorations from elsewhere in the game.
Oh, I thought you get the whole thing for
Additionally,
a pack.
you'll get the Deshret's Blessing level up effect.
Whoa.
The King of the Faradin Kiwi pet. And last but not least, a statue depicting the Vile Oversoul from Path of Exile 1.
Oh shit, what you do?
For those who don't know how supporter packs work, each pack comes with all of the cosmetics from the previous tier, so you'll get all the items from the Lord of Ogham supporter pack as well. The Thaumaturge of the Vaal supporter pack features an armor set and back attachment themed around the Vaal and their pursuit of science and progress. You can find the Soul Core weapon effect in this pack, which causes thaumaturgic energy harnessed from sacrifice to spill from your weapon. This pack also contains Doryani's Idol. It replaces the default appearance of any foci to an
Bro's
ancient relic
cosplaying.
once used by Doryani, and this can be applied to shields in Path of Exile 1. That's not the only Vaal weapon you'll find. It also contains the Wand of the Thaumaturge skin, and the Royal Sacrifice Dagger skin. You wouldn't think to put sacrificial gems on a Kiwi, but the Vaal did. Thaumaturge of the Vaal supporters will receive the Thaumaturge of the Vaal Kiwi pet, and the Statue of Dominus. This is also the first pack in the series with a physical item. When purchasing this pack, you'll receive a Path of Exile 2 logo t-shirt, but if you don't want one, you can opt out and return for additional points to spend in the store. Becoming a Warlord of the
That's a
Kardui
good fusion.
supporter will grant you an armor set and back attachment adorned in jade carvings and iridescent feathers resembling power. Enough to even impress the ancestral gods, specifically Tukohama, the Kardui god of war. Overkill,
the
you
hell?
say? I think the Kardui people would disagree. Why not drop a gigantic totem on rare enemies you slay to crush them to a pulp? Replace your crafting bench in your hideout with the Ancestral Canoe crafting bench, where Ancestral Chief Marta will summon a giant canoe manned by Karui warriors to aid in your crafting desires.
God damn.
You'll also get a pair of weapon skins. Equip Akoya's Felling Axe skin to your one-hand or two-handed axes, or Tukohama's Crusher to your one-handed or two-handed maces. A true Karui warlord is always accompanied by their trusty Kiwi. Equipped with armor and harnessing ancestral magic, they make the perfect sidekick. Once one of the most feared beings in Rayclast, Malachi was slain by a powerful exile. May the statue commemorate the virtue of Exile's past, present, and of the future. Of course, it's not all about dressing up in game. You'll want to look good in real life too. By becoming a Warlord of the Karui supporter, you'll also get a Path of Exile 2 hoodie. Our final tier of supporter pack in this series is the Liberator of Rayclast supporter pack. The Liberator of Rayclast armor set and back attachment come made with the finest materials in Rayclast, and shattered glass mosaics suspended in divine power. Set up your base of operations in the Beacon of Salvation hideout. Why restrict yourself to just one island when you can liberate more? The Beacon of Salvation hideout comes equipped with your own collection of small islands and personal operators of boats that you can use to row between them. Just walk to the piers, click a boat to enter, and navigate as you choose. Decorate each island as you see fit to best represent your well-earned hideout. Everyone in your hideout can use their own boat. Why not have some races?
They give you a whole area.
You can also get the Window to Twilight portal effect, a beautiful mosaic piece of art that shatters and reveals a gateway to your desired destination as you approach it.
This is the whale bundle.
As you walk away, the glass magically reforms back to its original form.
Oh, that's cool.
Rule in style with the Throne of the Ruler map device. Sure, this map device can create portals to in-game maps, but it also comes with a throne you can sit on to oversee your growing kingdom. Look down on the plebeians running your maps.
Oh, God.
Being the Liberator, though, is not just about sitting on your throne.
I think I need that pack.
If you do decide to join the fight yourself, you can leave a High Priest in charge as your second in command.
Might need this pack.
Liberator of Rayclast supporters will also get a set of varied weapon skins. The Light of Divinity Scepter skin, the Deliverance crossbow skin, the Justice flail skin,
just for the portal,
and the Redemption shield skin,
and the base.
Once again, you'll have an accompanying Kiwi, and of course a statue depicting one of the most iconic events in Rayclast's history, the battle between a powerful Exile and Kitava, the Insatiable. With the help of two deities, Sin and Innocence, the Exile was able to defeat him once and for all. This supporter pack also contains the Path of Exile 2 art book. This 215-page full-color art book includes a huge amount of amazing concept art and lore produced during the long and exciting journey of Path of Exile 2's development.
That's sick.
And finally, Path of Exile has a tradition of letting the community participate in designing game features. For Path of Exile 2, we'll be adding the Twilight Order foil reliquary. By becoming a Liberator of Rayclast supporter, once Path of Exile 2 is released, you will be able to select any unique item you have found and be able to drop it from the reliquary. Once players have submitted their items, keys to the reliquary will start dropping, and other players will be able to find foil versions of uniques that you have submitted along with a message for the lucky player. The more players submit the same unique, the more chances there will be for the reliquary to drop them, so choose wisely. Now almost all of these items are available to use in PoE 1 right now. There are a few exceptions where the item class clearly doesn't exist, such as crossbows or flails. And there are also a few microtransactions on weapon types that are unavailable in PoE 2 at the start of early access. Once classes that use those weapon types are added, those microtransactions will be available to use. If you can't decide which supporter pack to choose yet, you can always start with the early access supporter pack that just includes a key and some points to spend in the store. Then you can upgrade to any of the following tiers at a later date.
$30 for access
These
is
supporter
like...
packs will be available for purchase throughout
for
early
this
access.
much content is insane.
We'd really like to thank you for your ongoing support. Without you guys, Path of Exile 2 could not have happened. Now, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Stick around, because coming up next, we have a live Q&A with Ziggy D.
Yeah, for 30 bucks, insane amounts of content. Especially for a game that's gonna keep progressing. Like, if you apply the $1, I always apply the $1 equals an hour.
to the post-show
It sounds like
discussion
it hits that.
and Q&A.
Beyond it.
People enjoyed what you've seen so far. It's been pretty exciting for us here as well, as you guys have been inspired already just watching things. And you're already cooking a new Ascendancy class.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got to do design whenever you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's been a few fun moments here already. But I'm your host, Ziggy D, and I'm joined by Jonathan and Mark to talk about everything you've seen. Honestly, it's so much.
I mean, we were really keen to make sure that when we went into early access that people didn't feel like it was just, limping along and kind of, just like a minimal amount of content. We really wanted to kind of blow people away. So hopefully people feel like, there is enough content. Because, it was certainly a mission to get all that stuff in.
Yeah, I did come here expecting that there would be, maybe a basic mapping placeholder end game and your 3 acts and, the half the classes. But you've made a decision here, clearly, that's got to go the core PoE player community in mind.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have to make sure, look, Path of Exile's endgame is kind of known for the fact that you get to choose between different types of content and that, some people enjoy one thing, some people enjoy another. And I feel like that choice is, a huge part of what makes it good. So if we didn't have that when we entered endgame, then I don't think that would be, that wouldn't be a Path of Exile endgame. So that's kind of what we have to make sure of. So we kind of said, okay, well, what is the minimum number of, different in-game things you need to be able to have in order to be able to actually have a viable in-game that we feel like you get different choices. And that's how we ended up with what we have here.
I definitely feel like a lot of games nowadays release, and their campaigns intact and real good. You get to the end game and it just falls real flat.
Yeah.
And it was certainly a very important moment for us when we...
I agree with that.
Like, hold on, that's the wrong thing to do. Let's not make the same mistake as everyone else. Let's pivot. And we actually did that, and it made a world of difference and made the game all of a sudden, 100 times bigger with an infinite amount more content, right?
It was definitely hard though, because so we're progressing. It's we would have made it. We would have gotten, all these acts in if we hadn't have changed direction. It's to actually say, you know what, we're going to specifically not finish this content that we'll be working on, that we it's pins down everyone. We're stopping work on this. We're going to move over to endgame because it's actually more important. That was certainly a hard one.
That would have been some whiplash there, I imagine.
For sure. Well, I mean, it's suddenly the whole, environment art team, it's they're all just whatever you're working on, just scrap. You don't want to scrap, but, just stop it. we're doing something else now. So
saving clothes, yeah.
Especially for a lot of the developers, because you got to also think, a lot of our developers have just been working on this campaign for, what is it now,
They're all
6
doing
years.
the same emote.
I think it's even longer, actually.
Yeah, it's just this epic journey, whereas none of them, a lot of these people haven't been working on Path of Exile 1 this whole time, so some of us are we're just churning out in-game with every league and doing all of that, but for a lot of these people, a lot of these developers, it was quite jarring to swap over, but everyone embraced it. We talked about it, everyone was happy about it and stoked about it, and it just ended up coming out real awesome. So
yeah, this comes out in 2 weeks, bro. It's imminent.
Blew me away when so even before I saw anything, we were in the car on the drive here, and you were just info dumping all of the end game. You're like, oh, we got this feature. We got
There's
this
3
feature.
big releases in 2 weeks.
Just from hearing about
this
it.
being one of them.
Yet. But do you guys feel like you're competing against yourselves a little bit here? Because Path of Exile's kind of set the bar. The original game has set the bar for what is available to endgame in a game like this, and it makes it's not acceptable really to launch with just nothing in terms of endgame now.
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, if you're not
all 3 free to play,
then, I don't think you're going to make good progress, right? So that's what you really have to do.
Yeah, but cracking that out for beta even.
Yep, absolutely.
Pretty
well,
exciting.
as I said, I just think it would not have landed nearly as well without that. And I think it's important that our existing Path of Exile 1 community feels like they're also served.
No.
Yeah, sure, we're doing all this stuff for new players, and that's really important, and that'll expand the audience. But, if we launched and all the PoE 1 players are unhappy, that wouldn't be good. So, we have to make sure that they also feel like, they've got a game for both them and for all the new players we hope to bring to the genre.
And you definitely want all those different axes as well. Just having 2, right? You'll get a lot of content can be immediately divisive, right? Obviously, that's the nature of it. That's how it goes, right? And so you have all of these different avenues because there are different players who like different types of content.
Yeah.
So if you're just here's your one end game system, well, immediately then there is a portion of players who are just I don't want this, right? And so having all of these options is ultra key, and that is what Path of Exile 1 has taught us. And again, it's I'd say lessons learned, for the genre, and it is expanding in other games and stuff. But certainly, as you said, competing with ourselves, yes, PoE 1 has
40 axes, and we've got 7 really good ones here, and obviously more to come. But 7 is a lot, mind you.
Especially when it's all like, people have to learn a lot of things again.
Yeah, the audio is just a little
interesting to see
broken.
how long it takes people to do the kind of difficulty 4 Pinnacle content.
Yeah.
It's like we have it. We have to. It's honestly like we actually don't even really know because like you never know what people are going to find in terms of builds and so on.
Ask chat, Papeja.
I'm hoping that it will take people a while to be able to work it out, but you never know. Maybe end of day 1, people just be like, oh yeah, easy, no problem, mate. It could be what it's like.
We have a few people that are doing that sort of thing. I saw like a solo self-found level 100 in 24 hours or something.
Jeez. Okay, we got this. Is where we've got it now, is it?
Yeah, there are people who are going to be that hardcore.
I imagine there'll be a little bit of a soft reset there for people.
For sure.
A relearning period.
There's stuff to learn.
And I mean, PoE 2 has changed a lot over the years, so more than 5 years of development now. And what was that initial pitch when PoE 2 was first put forwards, like as to what it's going to be? Because it was much smaller in scope originally.
Yeah, so when we started, it wasn't even a sequel. It was just we're just updating the character rigs, and over time, it kind of feature creeped into a proper sequel. But the thing that we were saying is, whenever we were talking about it, and I guess this is the main thing, is that we're like, okay, when we make an area here, it needs to be that there's like a theme for it. It feels unique from everything else. We're not going to just like have recycled stuff like within the campaign that just feels like, oh, we just took this area and modified it slightly. Each one's got to have its own stuff. It's got to have monsters that were like carefully thought about that like, fit in with the world. And it's got to have bosses that are actually like good tier quality, in every area.
And they didn't even, PoE 2 wasn't even going to be this insane.
Decisions have kind of been things that have meant that, they really raised the quality bar to a level that took us way longer than we even really expected. Like those things there, just like it's huge, right? Like honestly, I feel like we underestimated significantly what it would take to deliver that.
I don't think they're coping. Honestly, PoE 2 sounds like a good time for players who have never played PoE to try it.
If you think back to, say, Diablo 2, which obviously still holds a lot of, power in terms of design motivations.
No, this is, if you've never played PoE, this is the best time to try it.
And PoE 1 did them, and it's just like, here's a boss
when this game
with
goes
1 or 2
early
skills.
access.
And I remember very, very, very early on in PoE 2, I'm like, I want every single boss to be memorable and a thing. I don't want a unique monster that's just like dies in 2 seconds and uses heavy strike and has a fancy name. And I remember, I even got some push.
Poor Caliph.
I remember getting some pushback at the time and thinking like, I love the bosses, my favorite part of everything. And so I was just like, man, I don't want this. This is just terrible. But of course, that decision, me pushing for that, me wanting that, turned into this megalithic.
What have you done?
Now we have 50, aiming to be 100. Honestly, probably later, several more 100 once all the end games, everything starts to evolve and more expansions comes out. And I'm like,
he pushed for all the bosses.
Just made 100 times more work for ourselves, but 100% bloody worthwhile. Because
I agree.
I'd say those bosses are one of the main, attraction pieces of the game, and anyone who plays it is just like,
the bosses are insane.
Boss fights are amazing. So like, obviously some are bad and some are good to different people and all that. That's how it all goes. That's part of all the fun. But it is true that me pushing for that thing literally created thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of work. Now, worthwhile work, but it is again that exact thing of like the scope was kind of small on numerous axes, and
he was a low-level dev at Grinding Gear Games and worked his way to lead dev.
It certainly went from, what was it initially? Just reskinning some character classes and new rigs or whatever into this like mega scale entire campaign. Yeah, everything. But
full standalone separate game. Yeah.
Fun other anecdote since we went out of that territory. It was originally codenamed Project Chimera.
What? I don't.
It was this pipe dream.
I've never been a fan of these codename things.
It was this like there were times way back in the original Office. There was all this like. Sometimes there'll be a feature you can't really do in PoE 1, and it was always like, we'll do it in Project Chimera. That was like amongst the developers, and people were like, what the heck is that? Now, ironically, there is a boss in Act 3 called, well, it's got a different name, but it's called the Chimera internally. It is a Chimera. It's a multi-headed beast, and you've seen it in a few of the marketing, things here and here, different trailers, little snippets of it. And I think it's just ironic that was actually the first boss asset made.
before everything, the first monster, because back in when we used to just make random monsters and we'll find out how to use them. And that was made for that game. It was used in the original PoE 2 trailer, right? It is the only incomplete, technically, but only from a balance standpoint, or it was the last boss to finish in the entire Path of Exile 2 campaign right now.
It sounds like there was like some sort of emotional demon that you had to battle there, of like the legacy of the original idea, and you had to finish it.
We had a moment with the monster game designers where we're like, oh my god, it's happening, the Chimera is finally being finished. Holy, this is like, yeah, we were effectively like, we need to celebrate this boss finally being done. It was like at the origin, and now it's at this, you know, point where we're about to deploy early access. You know, not to say the end, because the end is forever away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still the beginning of a journey in many ways.
Yep.
But on that note of celebrating, like, how do you guys feel having now kind of, for the first time, I feel really like laid bare kind of everything you have. You're putting it out there, and only being 2 weeks
after
away
5
from
years
playing it.
Well, it's always scary, you know, coming into a release, and I think especially for, you know, there's like a bunch of people on the PoE 2 team who have, you know, who, like they have.
I don't think Drew is available
and
in
that
2
experience
weeks.
is something that, you know, like. Yeah, like it's tough, and honestly, I think that even we were feeling a little bit cocky actually about the fact, because you know we release you know content for PoE1 all the time, and I feel like we kind of felt like we knew what it took to get a game released, but honestly, like PoE2 was just a whole entirely different demon as far as getting things out, right? Like it's just way more difficult. Like when you actually have to make everything, like the whole frickin' thing right from the ground up again, it's like wow, there's way more stuff there, and like there's even things like the passive tree where it's like. I feel like we underestimated what it would take to get something like that to an actual releasable state. Like that was a huge amount of work, just like absolutely colossal to get it to you know, to get that kind of stuff in shape. Like it's just been crazy. So yeah, like obviously it's nerve-wracking, you know, coming up to a release date.
They're releasing their project finally.
I think we do have something that players are going to really enjoy.
It's normal to be,
you know, like it's always
nerve-wracking.
You know, I mean, we had a live event in LA recently. You know, people, you know, we got to the time limit and everyone's like, "Oh man, we don't want to stop." You know, so like I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. It's been a whole different experience for me here playing this time around as well, whereas before I was playing a very buggy kind of internal version of the game that was very experimental. Now,
bro, $30 is not too much. You're trolling.
Almost what I'm going to be playing.
Well, I heard you still managed to blow the count up the eleviator with some kind of knockback bug.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Yeah, we have to get that one.
I did send the Act 1 boss up an elevator with knockback. It was
that is the most fair, I feel like, early access price for a game with this much content.
He was in his, like, big wolf form and kind of trapped in there, so just barking at me through the wood.
Yeah, release will be free.
I'm sure there's a few things to work out over this next 2 weeks. I hope the team can have a little bit of a rest for a day before they get back into it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot. So you've done that pivot to the endgame focus and got so much for us now to play around with in the beta. And,
yeah, and then they give you currency to spend in the MTX shop.
Yeah, we might be playing for a few weeks here, and then you know, maybe going back over to some Path of Exile 1 stuff. But it seems like you guys want us playing through Christmas.
That would certainly be good. I mean, look, there's enough stuff there. I think it will take people a long time to get through.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, it's also going to be the first time people are playing through a completely fresh campaign as well. I think that will take people a fair amount of time. So yeah, there's, and then of course the end game as well to explore. I mean, yeah, it should be pretty significant. I mean, we've always wanted it to be that Path of Exile 2 leagues, you know, are going to be, you know, like how PoE1 leagues are, where you play them for like, you know, a reasonable amount of time, and then, you know, sure, you get done with them eventually, and then you've got the next content that comes out. So
oh wait, you get full $30 MTX for $30
to make that happen.
Yeah, people are definitely wondering like how invested.
I thought it was only a part of it. Yeah, I mean,
I definitely want to ask a few questions kind of around that idea. So, firstly, is there going to be wipes?
I feel like that's fair.
And will there be something before launch as well?
So we are going to be having new like leagues effectively throughout the beta whenever we launch something significant, because, you know, we want to make sure that all of the, you know, effectively that people are able to play through. But that stuff will be merged into an early access league, and effectively after we go into full release, that league will stick around. Now, I can't promise that everything about your character will function exactly like how it did in that thing.
I imagine it'll be a glorious kind of snapshot of all of the here's all the broken stuff. Yeah.
But effectively, we can contain all that stuff in the sort of early access league, and then if you still want to play those characters, you know, like then you can go right ahead and do that. But you know, the action is always going to be in whatever the most recent league is, and then of course after that point, there'll be a standard that everything goes into, which you know, all our economic sins will forevermore be archived in the in standard. So yeah, that's. you know, no doubt what will happen.
Well, it's nice that it's not going to be affecting.
I'm leaning towards mercenary right now.
That's the idea.
People will be able
But
to kind of get
the
invested in
monk
their
looked
characters.
insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's even something kind of cool about the idea of making something that will be like that little historical piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little collectible.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there'll be some handful of legacy things that only exist in early access leagues. So you know, I guess we'll have to see what comes with the unique balance.
You talked about like the you know, playing for a week or how long are we expecting?
Yeah.
Well, we also got to remember, and a lot of the, you know, a lot of the PoE1 players will be thinking very differently to people who are obviously going to experience this as a new game, but it is a new game, right? You don't have all these predefined, hyper-refined builds to play to immediately, you know, go through things. You don't have people coming in with like fully detailed 7 million line build guides of exactly what to do with what items. The discovery is going to be there. The discovery takes time, and the discovery is like honestly ultra fun for me. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, those things will emerge after time. Of course they do. Completely fine. But you should remember, like, there's a lot of game to play here to discover, to learn about the world, the new narratives, the new world building, the new unique items, the ascendancy classes, the massive passive tree, which is bigger than PoE1's.
Am I using a build?
Like, you know,
bro, it's
endgame
day one.
systems,
Everybody's
the
just gonna be
bosses,
pressing
like,
left click on
it's
different
not gonna
nodes.
Be this, like, you know, even, you know, I personally, when a PoE1 league comes out, for example, I play for like a month. Sometimes a bit longer.
There are no
sometimes
builds.
A bit less. It ultimately also depends largely what's going on
This
here and
ain't
how much
season
I need to invest
8
here.
of PoE1.
So, you know, and there are other people who play for
Path
more
of
like
building,
3
there's
and
no
whatnot, but
database.
There's certainly going
People
to
are
be
probably
a much longer
experimenting,
time
though.
period you can play this for while still discovering new stuff and not feel like you're finished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's probably a
obviously,
calculator
that's
that will come
subjective.
out.
Everyone can pick their own point when they finish, but if you want to see everything and do everything, you're going to be investing a lot more time, especially these first-time rounds, and then obviously with every league, there's more to discover, but you get faster at doing all these parts over and over and over again. You'll get more efficient over time. That's how the game works. So, yeah, I'd expect a lot of time to be sunk into this to fully explore it to start with, like a lot, you know. Not a week, not 2 weeks. You're going to be going far, far longer than that if you want to see everything. But, you know, it's up to you. Play at your own pace. See how you want to go. Learn at your own pace. That's the beauty of a new game as well, which we haven't been able to experience.
Fine,
with
I'll
Path of
pay the
Exile 1,
$60 version to
or
get
other
it a month
games
early.
for so long. Is
Let's play it today.
Actually discovering the entire
Fine.
world, and yeah, there's some familiar mechanics at the end game and stuff like that, which is awesome for
To
people.
piss off the minus 30 people.
Yeah, I certainly want to really. I'm very excited to see people discovering the new things and getting so excited about it.
I can tell you're amped for watching people go through that discovery process. I'm maybe even
like
diving in yourself a bit.
100%.
I mean, I love sitting there in Path of Building, as many of us do, but I am very excited for that.
Well, yeah, as we were
new
saying,
discovery process for a while.
I think you were saying how
Unmapped.
much you were part spreadsheet. I think I'm like. I think I was saying I'm like maybe 60% spreadsheet, 40% discovery, and that's my play archetype. You know, so
Coming up with our player profiles, Timmy spikes, and things like that for both of Exile characters. Yeah.
the discovery part of me is ultra excited, and and I'll mind you, that's coming from someone who kind of knows all the content. I'm still, because there's something different about making
Honestly,
it
bro,
versus
I don't think
actually
it's
playing it live.
it's kind of
with the
sad if you
players,
choose a side.
Seeing them discover it, uniques being linked in chat and on Reddit and all of that. Is
I feel
just
like as
so,
an
so
ARPG
cool.
gamer,
So we're gonna get a massive dose
unless
of that.
you're
and it
like
is,
a fuck,
genuinely exciting to
you
just
had
see
your
how
enjoyment
people are
from
gonna
D4,
think, you know, what's worth
and
one
now you're
chaos
gonna
or
play
what's
the
worth 10
next
chaos, what's worth if chaos is
big
chaos,
ARPG.
Is chaos even the currency that people settle on?
We were arguing
Yeah,
about
you
this
know?
earlier.
I'm pretty sure that one C
Which happens
spam
to
in
be
chat might
PoE
turn
too.
into one E, because like, you know, one exalt. Given that exalt is now,
I think it'll be chaos.
People probably-
ad
people-
remove will still be.
People don't appreciate, by the way, like, so when we say we've increased, you're going to be getting multiple exalts in Act 1 in PoE2. Like, we actually have increased that a lot. It isn't
Yep.
just like an idle, you know, like
I can
thing.
see exalts becoming the new kind of like chaos.
Yeah.
then
I had
actually-
my
actually
enjoyment
chaos
with
will
that
be
game.
the
Now
vibe.
this one
I
will
agree.
be
But
its
we'll
own
see.
shit.
that's my point.
But it's a new economy, right?
Who
Like, who
knows?
even knows? The market will have to.
But I like that we're
Yeah.
already arguing about
Yeah,
this. It's good fun. So, do you have some kind of like beta release roadmap for updates and things like that for people to look forward to?
I mean, we certainly did have one 6 months ago when we were, but now that we're you know, now that we're sort of getting to release, it's like, oh my god, like, you know, we have to look at it. So, I mean, look, I don't think it'll be any less than 6 months. I think it could easily end up being more. I certainly don't want to. I mean, look, 2025. I think really want to be full release in 2025. I don't really want to be spending more than a year. That would be pretty crazy. But I mean, honestly, like we have to get all the content finished and all that sort of stuff. We always feel like we underestimate these things, and of course we have to learn what we need to learn. We have to get the game to the point when it is really fun. We have to make sure that like all of the things, like we've got the difficulty right for all the players, we've got the economy right, like all the stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're gonna have to sort out. And so I kind of have a feeling that the first few weeks at least are gonna just be scramble of like, oh crap, someone like worked this crazy thing out and we found this thing, and like that's always scary, because it's just when we add content to PoE1, it's like
someone's gonna break the game.
Stuff that we have is kind of well tested and people know kind of what's going on with it. But here it's like just complete new world, and we're the kind of game that has a lot of ability for players to do stuff that we wouldn't anticipate. We have just the way support gems work and everything like that. So there's certainly a lot of worry that, like, there's just going to be builds that are like completely ridiculous that we just never anticipated, with combining certain things in different ways we don't expect. With hundreds of support gems, it can be like that. So that's going to be an interesting one.
It will happen.
Yeah, for sure.
It is inevitable, right? Like there's nothing we can even do about it, because you need hundreds and thousands of hours of testing to be able to do that with.
Bro, I told you to move your monitor, man. You need to start You need to stop looking at yourself with a reflection, man.
Which is awesome.
That's why
discuss
this.
Like,
are you literally really doing 12 classes and 36 ascendancies? Like actually?
Yeah, that's absolutely. We have we know what we want to do. With
it's a bit
all that
unhinged.
Stuff. It is a bit. But
can we not talk about this?
We like a challenge. I mean, a studio that produces a passive skill tree like we do clearly has a bit of a glutton for punishment with regard to just like mixing.
You totally could have done 6 and then like, I don't know, added more later in an expansion or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could have. I mean, look, this is the plan. This is the plan. I mean, like as people go through early access, it's going to feel like there's just expansion.
I love this joke. It's the 100th time I've heard it.
Kind of,
I love this joke.
A lot of the way through.
I tune in to make sure I hear him say it.
I really want to get the druid out. Like we announced it, we've talked about it. It's a lot of fun. I'm keen to get that out there as soon as we can. The huntress, we've talked about as well.
Do it again.
Those kinds of things, I think, we'll be able to move towards those pretty quick. There's obviously more to do.
The other thing you mentioned, talking roadmap like things, is we've always been. It's hard to predict because a lot of what will happen is, and what we leave space for is reacting to what the players want. And so if you plan everything for so long, you're going to have very, very, very slow reaction times to fixing, or adding certain content where there maybe the issue is like, the campaign needs more of this, or this class needs more of this, or something. So if you're planning, then you're going to be delivering on what they
Chat, what class are you guys
solved,
playing?
like a year down the line, or even
I'm a mercenary monk.
Where we like to remain very, very dynamic and like, you want to be able to fix that stuff. Like,
I was hoping the Valkyrie was going to be available.
You need more than a week sometimes.
Bro, I already chose the monk. It was overwhelmingly monk in the chat.
The next
Come on.
releases, expansions, updates, whatever, can alleviate as many of those problems as possible. So, yeah, you try not to get too strict with the planning has generally been our philosophy, because especially when it comes to actually having the live service product out, because that is very, very important. Otherwise, you're never going to seem like you're doing what people want.
Necro Ranger?
What are you doing if not that?
So that actually is a good point. Like, I was going to ask, what do you folks, what does the team want out of the beta? Because obviously it's like a good way to market the game, but it's also, key to shaping the game in the future. Like, the actual beta, it's not just early access.
I think one of the most important things, I think it's going to be really good for the development team to get back into a live mindset and like get it back into the idea of like, okay, everything we make is shipping.
People are seeing this.
Like get back into this, people are seeing, like actually getting back into that and like being able to sort of see directly, like, okay, we make something, it goes in the game, people like it, don't like it, like that kind of stuff. Like, and that really, like, that has been our studio for like most of its lifetime. Obviously, before we released PoE1, it wasn't, but after that point, I mean, we are a company, like, we are a company that likes to think that we can do live service better than anyone else. Like, that is our goal. And so, like, getting back into that again, for the
got the experience
everyone in the studio, so that everyone's working on things that are going to be releasing within, certainly in less time than 3 months away. is going to think be really, really good for us again. I look forward to just being able to do that because these long term, like really long term things, like that span over years. It's like you go so long without proper feedback, like stuff kind of gets made, and then like it's not really in a real game, and so it doesn't get
probably
tested
lose
properly.
perspective,
And you absolutely lose perspective on this stuff. So I think that that's just going to be a really great to get back to that again.
Yeah, I honestly, as you said, it is early access. It is a beta period, and I'd say personally speaking, the thing that, and we mentioned it briefly about the character balance and the builds that are broken and all that, that's obviously pretty useful to me, right?
Yep.
Plus, we have other systems in there, like, the checkpointing system, right? You have to kill the boss in one life. These are things we haven't mass tested, and obviously other games have, and they work, and that's awesome. There are other things like, the end game system is a little bit less forgiving in that if you die, you fail the map, right? These things are things that we obviously need to test and iterate on in the future by adjusting the difficulty and stuff like that. And especially as you get towards this point of, the end game, like, okay, Act 1 has been tested like crazy.
Yep.
Right? And you get less and less testing as it goes on.
Top tier MTX pack is amazing.
They've just been around for less time. And so, yeah, it's going to be a huge amount of iteration and feedback and from the players and us.
Kind of does look like Shrek.
Reevaluating all the stuff. And the thing is, we're always dynamic about that stuff. Like, we'll just change things if it's wrong. We'll redesign it. We'll come up with a new way. Jonathan's a firm believer of if A doesn't work and B doesn't work, then we'll find C, we'll find option C, we'll find option D, and we'll keep changing things and we'll make it work. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of that iteration on our design decisions, how forgiving, because, like, the game is pretty hard. It can be pretty hard. And so when you're on that fine line of, like, if things are difficult, it's not too easy to know if you've tilted one way or the other. So, finding what everyone agrees should be the common corrected difficulty is something that I will obviously be paying very, very, very close attention to.
It's a pretty hard thing to nail down when you are making the game. And
gotta make sure.
We've seen that a lot. Where
that makes sense.
Been pretty willing to change and then rechange and rechange again. Some of the core features like flasks and the waypointing system and portals. And you're keeping that kind of mindset going into the beta then?
Of course. I mean, look, we're always willing to change stuff like that.
Are you downloading the game?
Like, the most
no.
recent change to that was like ultra recent.
Comes out in 2 weeks.
Have we even had like a closed beta of that yet? Was that no? I think we haven't. Yeah. I mean, I think it's way better than it was. Like, it's the things have improved a lot. And honestly, like, that's one of those things we've been wanting to do, something to sort out flasks for ages.
Yep.
And it really came about because
I like how there's only one flask now.
Players were having trouble with, when they were playing. Flask piano was actually, like, even from the very beginning of the game, actually ended up being one of those things that, like, people just had probably just like
5 flasks were a little like
required to, like, hit all your different flasks.
A little redundant.
And then, you have to know when one of your flasks run out so you can move to the next one and, like, various things like that. Like, all that stuff actually was, like, just a large amount of mechanical complexity right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then even at endgame, I don't think it was really that satisfying either because you ended up with, like, just, like, having to press all these buttons all the time. And obviously it's all utility flasks that people are using at endgame. And then we kind of tried to band-aid this in PoE 1 with the, some of the flask automation stuff that was added there. But there was still this idea that... that you're still more powerful if you don't automate. So therefore, it's like there's that trade-off there. So
you're just more powerful if you get mage blood. Really,
sure. I guess. Sure.
And then it's all automated, and you're very powerful.
Yeah, sure, all right. But so the point is, effectively, that the charm stuff that we're doing effectively means that you no longer the game is making that decision of, like, that stuff will be automated. You no longer have to do that, like, crazy flask piano to get the best the best out of your character. And I think that is definitely a step in the right direction. And the other thing as well is it actually makes the crafting more meaningful, I think, on the flasks, because when you've got, like, 5 slots, then like the individual mods and the individual stuff, like, seems to tend to not matter as much. I mean, obviously, people want instant recovery and things like that, but like but like now it's like it's much more meaningful, like, on your life flask, the choice between do I want instant or do I want way more life, like that kind of stuff actually can be a lot more meaningful once you've only got one. So yeah, I think it is a lot better personally.
You have we'll jump ahead to floss since we're on the topic. You have locked in effectively the fact that there's a mana flask there now, so there's always going to be a mana flask slot. And how does that tie into your design for mana? And are we always going to be using mana flask slot, or if we solve another way, what does it do? You
can absolutely solve another way, and then you'll just have a flask slot that isn't doing anything for sure. But I think it kind of has to work that way because we really don't want. Because, like, once you sort of start getting.
Wait, did they change legs? They did.
I feel like it's the
other
system
leg,
sort of
it got
starts to break
tired.
with regard to like the feeling of
I
like,
didn't even
know where
realize
mana is,
the
I know where
switch.
health is, like that kind of stuff. That being said, we've always got uniques and stuff like that.
Wait,
I
they all
believe there's
switched?
Yeah, there is a unique.
the hell?
You to equip 2 life flasks.
But the thing is, then that's a build choice that you're making. So it's a little bit different, and that's fine.
They all fell asleep at the same time.
I think the system as it works now, it's a lot easier.
So it does sound like on the mana side of things then that there are going to be multiple angles of solving mana,
Of
not
course.
necessarily
So we've got Leech edition number 475 of how it works, and we've finally got it right this time. I think it works. So I think it's good. So I think that Leech will be more common.
I'm not going to have to like crack out the Leech diagram showing the different buckets and things like that.
I was saying, I think that Leech might be. No, I think. I was going to say, Leech is one of the topics in the studio that has wasted the most designer time of anything in the history. But I actually don't think it's that. I think the actual worst.
Do you buy a supporter pack? I'll probably get the 480.
I think that
I want a throne.
That one has wasted there's so many arguments about that.
I feel like that one's never come to the fore. Like we know about the Leech one,
but no one is happy about giving accuracy. But no one has a better idea than what accuracy that it can give. And then, like everyone's going to come up with like in chat a bit. I bet they'll be like saying, "Oh, it can give this or this, whatever." But there's like, seriously, there's been endless arguments about that topic. It's like it's outrageous.
Yeah. You've got me thinking about it now.
Yeah.
I mean, speed would be good, but then that's probably too much.
Something like Dex, you just can't.
Dex stacking speed.
We can get all the designers down here right now.
Yeah, I know. But we'll just have it out again. We'll just have it out again.
The longest Q&A of all time.
Yeah.
It's already going to be that.
Sometimes you're just like, you start the day, you're like, all right, here are the problems we need to solve, and then you're like,
what about?
But then accuracy on Dex comes up again.
No, it's 3 p.m. and we're still discussing dexterity.
Yeah.
So go home. Just make it accuracy again.
Yeah, exactly. And that is literally how it comes back to accuracy every time.
Okay, this is okay.
Yeah.
The New Zealand accent.
We can't forget our roots with Path of Exile 1, of course. So for the PoE 1 enjoyers, what is the plan for PoE 1 during the course of this beta? Is there going to be leagues launching? Is it on the back burner?
Yeah, there absolutely will be leagues launching. Now I don't know the exact date, but the plan is kind of late February.
Yep.
But I mean, look, we'll see what happens. I will admit that unfortunately we did have to steal a few PoE 1 resources just towards the end here, which is kind of been a bit unfortunate. I really wish we didn't have to. But as I said, we kind of underestimated some of the stuff. But everyone is going to be going back to PoE 1 again for the February league, and we're going to make sure that we can do that. Like one of the things that was a big problem for our studio when we had a long-term project and a short-term project, is that. You've always had that thing of like you always want to work on the short-term thing.
Yeah.
So now that we've got 2 short-term things coming up, I actually think it's going to be a bit easier to prioritize in some respects because
funnily enough,
it's just like all that stuff is then is like coming up soon. So but we'll see how it goes. But we need to get that PoE 1 expansion out next.
Yeah, obviously, I just want to always make it clear that, the reason why things can't be so planned out is, again, we're just releasing this game.
Yep.
Obviously, we pivoted to Endgame, and then that needed more resources. And then, of course, combined with the fact that, things obviously change. There are unpredictable things in the environment we can't necessarily guarantee. And then, of course, you have, Christmas coming up and all of that, right? There's so many variables to consider, but we also don't know how much time is going to be invested necessarily or need to be invested into live operations for post-release. How many problems are going to go wrong? How many builds how many of the uniques are broken? How many, and where do all these resources go? There are like just millions of variables here to consider, and so like it can get very, very difficult, especially at this time. But once you release, you have a bit of a grace period, so to speak, where more like a period of extreme amounts of fire, where we're putting out fires everywhere. But we have a period where we're fixing everything. You get everything stable, and then we're going to be like, all right, let's recalibrate, figure everything out. And what is our plans, and then establish
working during Christmas,
based also on the feedback we get from that period where everything's on fire. Not to make it sound like it's going to be bad, but that is the inevitability. Is there's always...
Chat, by the way, have drops been on this whole time?
From a player perspective, but there's always going to be like, oh my god, people found this, and you know, like, yeah.
We don't have to see all the files.
I can already imagine the login queue.
Like ideally, the best thing is when we're able to fix some kind of exploit before people even hear about it.
Yeah.
And when I say exploit, I'm just talking about some broken thing. Like if we we obviously normally have to worry about. Like,
I can
the whole
close my
neglecting
eyes and
concept,
picture the login
but it's like
queue.
if you can deal with something within like an hour or two of it happening, then it's like you're kind of okay because you know no one had a chance to kind of like everyone didn't swap their build over to it or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna have to be really on the ball for PoE 2 just because there's so many things that are new.
Well, I mean, look, we have several bosses with several elevators. How many of them can be pushed up the elevator? You know what I mean? Well, that's what I mean. When I say a fire, I'm talking about bosses getting pushed up elevators. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, I am liking my mercenary flashbang knockback is very fun.
Right. Yeah, you need to look into that, by the way. The whole flashbang.
I feel like you're going to nerf my build.
Yeah.
This one, he's just finding fires already.
Yeah.
No, these are the fun things. Discovering that stuff can be very fun for the players. It's just internally, it's like, oh no, what are we doing? It can get a little bit panicky after release, you know, and it you know, there's lots of things going on. You're like, oh geez, what do I solve first? But obviously, you know, it's the same as PoE 1. We're good at it at this point.
Got some experience.
Yeah.
Belts. You aren't going to be torturing us with like releasing beta stuff at the same time as PoE 1 league launches.
Yeah, the plan is to keep them separated a bit from each other so that you know, you get a chance to play.
Don't
with
make me
both teams.
choose.
Yeah.
So we saw a cinematic. To put it lightly, it was pretty. That was quite epic, and I know has been.
I would watch that cinematic again.
And that was pretty exciting. But we've also seen just a lot of story stuff happening on a much higher level than previously now. So stepping up your storytelling game here a bit.
Yeah, so we're really wanting to make sure that the storytelling in PoE 2 is much better than what it was in PoE 1. Like, you know, there's a lot more kind of, I guess, like that kind of like stuff with the introductions to boss fights and the outros and things like that. Like all that stuff, we've just got a lot more storytelling going in. All of those things. We do have the intro cutscene. There's also kind of like light, like between the acts. There's these kind of like more kind of motion graphic type cutscenes, just kind of establish things. And there might be some more surprises later on in the game as well. Not in early access, unfortunately. Later on that we can see as well. But ultimately, we just want to make sure that like I think a lot of people who got through the PoE 1 story had no idea what was happening by the end. And so effectively we want to make sure that that's not the case this time around, that people really are able to absorb.
It did seem like they were trying to go further on plot.
It's ultra important to us that we don't break the feeling that like when you're playing a second time that it feels like we don't want it to feel annoying the second time.
We were talking about this morning. About you don't take the control out of the player's
exactly.
hands.
So yeah, I'm personally a believer of the fact that if you just change, when you change the camera position for a cutscene. Immediately it feels way more annoying, like because there's this whole thing of like if you click on an NPC and like the camera changes position, like sure when you're playing through the campaign the first time, that kind of thing is like, you know, like that can be cool, but then if you're like you're playing through the, you know, second, third, fourth, fifth time, you want to be able to go to the NPC and go click, 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 and just get past, and without it feeling like you've had to sort of worry about anything. So yeah, like effectively, we want to make sure that it's still that we still have that, you know, because ultimately, you know, we're a game you expect people to play through many times. So ideally, we can kind of deliver both the situation where the first time you play through it, it feels like an amazing story that you're getting, that you're taking seriously, that you're understanding, that you know, there's like all those sort of touch points and you know, little you know, things just all through, while also maintaining the fact that if you know what you're doing, it's like you don't have to go talk to some quest giver just to get a quest. Like you can just go do the thing, you know, without having to talk to someone about it first. So you know, that kind of stuff is really important just to make the, you know, that stuff work well when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you said something this morning that stuck with me, where you said like Path of Exile is a game where the player's meta knowledge is allowed and encouraged.
Absolutely. So
you're allowed to cheat the quests.
Effectively, yeah. So effectively, there's what the character knows and there's what the player knows, and in our game, what the player knows needs to be sufficient as far as like being able to progress the storyline. If you don't want to have it so you just talk to an NPC just to find out something you already knew as a player.
Yeah, like if you know you kill this boss, you get the next area's waypoint. So you just like kill it, log out, log in, waypoint, right?
I love doing that.
Meta knowledge.
Yeah.
Wait, you can just walk to the area and do the quest?
To me the other day, I
don't know if I understood that.
Kind of the context for the beast and how that leads into the cutscene in the beginning of PoE 2 from PoE 1, and that I think helped put it.
That's
in
actually nice. So it's almost like if you already did the objective and then you go to the quest giver, you can just turn it in.
A new seed of a beast.
Oh, it's like that in PoE 1 as well.
Is growing now. In PoE 1, you know, the beast was killed. And then what happened in response to that is a bunch of all the gods in the world were able to,
Chat, if you guys want to continue watching this, they are going to be streaming for a little longer here. We're just going to move on. But I think they're wrapping up here. We're going to be hitting up. I want to continue some Stalker 2 here, but they're doing a deep dive on this.